All right, everybody. Unhappy Wednesday. Coming to you live once again from our humble abode. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. So please pull up a chair, use the company dime, grab a drink, do what you got to do. Don't know if you're off for the rest of the week leading into the holiday, but let's try to enjoy ourselves as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. All right, so I didn't get a chance to tease the show earlier in the afternoon. We were busy at work, but as always, just a couple things before we get rolling. Folks, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you are more comfortable, we totally understand. But just to let you know, the YouTube channel is the best way to view or listen, comment on any Green Legion radio show. So please do us a solid. Go ahead over to YouTube, hit subscribe, and click the little bell for your notifications for whenever we go live. And always, as always, make sure to subscribe and share our pages everywhere. If you cannot catch our shows live, you can always watch or listen later on any of the services we just described, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bud Light Baseball Brunch every weekend with Greg Murphy and Chris Sack. I say it every week, and I'll continue to say it. The best Phillies talk that there is. They go for an hour. It's a great, it's awesome show. If you're a Phils fan, don't miss that one. Always make sure you're tuning in. Get in there to YouTube and comment with the guys. If if they've got the time, they'll call you out. They usually do contests pretty frequently for tickets to Phils games, and it's a random subject, right? Favorite, best 80s movie, best horror movie, stuff like that. So make sure you get in there and listen to those two gentlemen. As for this show, we're a commercial now. No plans to really, be on location anywhere. I do want to get back to the back porch at some point, but, and my friend Mike up there, he plays volleyball on Wednesday nights. So getting him to come on is not really possible on Wednesdays during that season. If I can get someone else from our Midwest Eagles Nest to join me up there, we will do that again as well. Anyone in the local area looking for an Eagles group, the Midwest Eagles Nest is your place. The Back Porch Saloon here in Westchester, Ohio is your spot. Go ahead on up there. Talk to Mike if he's working. Hit me up here. Hit me up on any social media, wherever you want. Just search Adam Gilmore, Unhappy Gilmore, and I'll be happy to help you. What else? We made a let's see here. I think last week we talked about shifting to Tampa for our Green Legion trip this year. Schedule doesn't really lend itself for us to be able to go to multiple. I could probably sneak in Kansas City. That's going to be really difficult, though, because it's right next to Thanksgiving. And with everything else I've got planned, probably not in the cards unless there's a need from Quimby. And, then we can try to make something happen. But until then, Tampa's probably going to be it. Last year, we had the opportunity to go to Indianapolis. I could have probably gotten to Detroit had I pulled the trigger quicker. But, it just didn't work out. So in the coming years, hopefully there'll be a couple we can drive to along with the flight. Okay. If you saw the post for the show tonight, you know that in a few minutes here, we are going to welcome back my son, my oldest, Grady Gilmore, who I'm looking at his little thumbnail down there, and his head is just a tad too close to the camera. So Grady, if you can hear me, let's go ahead and adjust that before I bring that mop of yours on this. Guys, last time we had him on, he really didn't listen to any of my advice. I told him some trigger words to stay away from. He went ahead and babbled those trigger words out anyways. I told him to stay off of YouTube so he couldn't see the room. He chose to bring that up on his little TV in his room, and you guys really went in on him. Now, I warned him not to say some of the stuff he said, and he did it anyways. So, open season. This week, we're going to try to stop that from happening and make it make it a little bit easier to go. Yeah, Grady, that looks much better. Sorry, guys, I can see him in there. Let's jump over to the room. Who do we got here? Usual suspects. Lou Mancini in the room. How you doing, buddy? Keenan Harmon. What's up, fellas? They got Lou and Keenan going back. Yes, Keenan says yesterday was his Friday for this week. Well, good for you. The rest of us schleps have to work our way through the week before getting to our 3-day weekend. What else do we got here? Keenan Harmon. I got a ticket for Phil's Braves on June 20th. Guess I'll go and check out the new scoreboard. Guys, I'm not going to cover any Philly stuff. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. It's been a really disappointing start for you guys for sure. I know Chris is beside himself. I would expect again, make sure you're tuning in to Baseball Brunch. I would expect multiple sack attacks coming soon. And while I don't enjoy the fact that he's that your boys are struggling so mightily, sack attacks are pretty fun. So I'll tell you, it's the yin and yang, right? Got to take the bad with the good. As far as us, we are, let's see here. I think it's 7 weeks. Let me get my little vacation countdown thing here. Yep. 49 days, 16 hours, 51 minutes, and what is that? 14, 13, 12, 11, until we head to Philadelphia. That is the entire Unhappy Brigade coming to invade your city. I'm going to work from home that Thursday morning, and I do air quotes, but I will actually have my laptop open and be ready to do anything that they need me to do that morning. My wife looks like she's still going to stick to her working till 11 that day, so we're probably not getting on the road until closer to noon. Means we're not getting into Philly until, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock on Thursday night. It'll be a long day on the road. But then we are in town Friday all day sightseeing. As we get closer, we will try to nail down some spots there. Hey, look, we're going to go here for lunch. We're going to go here for dinner. As I've talked about before, there's no way that I'm going to be able to lug around 5 people and get everywhere to see everyone. So we're just going to put it out there where we're going to be. And then, if you guys have the time and you want to come out, grab a cheesesteak, have a couple laughs, maybe a beer, we'll accommodate that. Saturday is going to be the big baseball trip portion of it. The Grady, Liam, and I will be heading to the bank for the 1 p.m. Padres at Phil's. And then we are going to double dip by hitting Camden Yards that night at 7 p.m. Be a long day. We won't be back up in the Philly area until, late that night, but it'll be well worth it. And then Sunday, it looks like both of my brothers are going to be in South Jersey on that Sunday. So we're going to try to hook up and at least have some breakfast and hang out with some fam for a while. We'll advertise again where we're going to be if you guys want to come out and meet some more of the now their last name isn't Gilmore. These are by technical definition they are my stepbrothers, but our parents got together. I was like 9 or 10. And they got married a couple of years after that. They've been my brothers for, what am I, 44 for 35 years. So, stepbrothers, I get it, but they really are my brothers. So we're gonna have a good time there. That Monday, we're talking about kind of bouncing back and forth to Baltimore and stuff to see some more stuff. I don't intend to spend a whole lot of time in Baltimore like we've talked about on here. Fort McHenry, Babe Ruth Museum, crab cake lunch, yada yada yada, and then boogie on back. So we'll see. The only thing we did hit a snag. So the idea was Monday to head to Baltimore in the morning and hit Fort McHenry, then the Babe Ruth Museum, and then go have a nice crab cake lunch or whatever on the Inner Harbor. The Babe Ruth Museum, Birthplace Museum, is not open on Mondays. So what may end up happening is we may go down to Baltimore Monday morning, do Fort McHenry, have an early lunch on the Inner Harbor, and then drive back to Philly and spend the rest of the day in Philly. Maybe another chance for dinner with some of my Green Legion brethren. And then Tuesday morning on our way out of Philly, leaving for the duration, head back down to Baltimore, get that Babe Ruth Museum when it opens, and then scoot on back here to Ohio. It's about an 8 to 9 hour drive from Baltimore. It's about 9 to 10 to Philly from here. So we're just going to have to kind of play that by ear. I don't really want to go to that area and not get the Babe Ruth thing. And I know my wife is really looking forward to the lunch on the Inner Harbor. It may work. It may end up being that we just take Philly and we just take that Monday and spend it in Philly again, instead of going to Baltimore, because at some point we're all going to take a family trip to DC, which means we can get up to Baltimore to see that stuff. Anyways, I don't really know yet. We're going to figure that out. But anyways, I've rambled on long enough. Just know we are 7 weeks away from invading your city. So looks to be a good time. We're hoping the weather's good, and we hope to get to see as many of you as we can. As many of you as that can come out. So that's the deal there. Now, let me hop over here for Russ Taylor joins the room. What up, Russ? Russapalooza, everyone. If you haven't seen that yet, take a gander at the event he created. I'm sure he can provide more information for you. Russ is collecting Hot Wheels cars for a pediatric hospital in there in Philly. Great cause. I know we donated. I've seen Russ post. Lou Mancini donated. I believe Super Sam donated today or yesterday. My days are kind of running together. Our good friends Lou and Ashley down in Miami. I saw that post as well. So great job, everyone. Russ, keep up the good work, and we'll continue to support as always. Anyone know any Dolphins fans? Anybody at all know any Dolphins fans? If you do, and you're looking for something like what the Green Legion offers with the away trips and tailgates and all of that stuff, go to 305sportstravel.com. That's our good friends Lou and Ashley. They are starting a Fins travel group, obviously based in Miami, but I'm sure they'll be able to accommodate folks who are not actually living in Miami. So there. So how the hell are all of you? Now that I've babbled on for 15 minutes. Let me get a sip of water here, and then there's going to be a little bit of a rant here, guys. So I don't know how deep, I don't know if you guys are aware of all of the baseball stats, right? And before we bring Grady on, I wanted to do the boner of the week. And this week's boner of the week is going to. Now, we've got a couple other candidates that Grady and I are going to have some fun with here in a couple minutes, but I know you guys know what batting average is. I know you know what home runs, RBIs, on base percentage, slugging, all that stuff, OPS. But there's a stat called WAR, which stands for wins above replacement. And the general idea, without going into a lot of detail, is it basically gives a rating of your performance over what your replacement would be, right? And there's a lot of jargon that goes into that, but that's the general idea. And the way these nerds nowadays, and I'm speaking mostly to the millennial group that worship this stat, the way they worship, they worship this, they treat it like it's the Bible. And they treat it like what they're hoping for is that this stat provides a way to compare players in different eras, which to me is still virtually impossible. Okay. Rules being different, conditioning being different, just a litany of different things. I do think it's very difficult. Before I move any further with that, Russ Taylor brings up, pour one out for the late, great, fabulous Tina Turner, who passed away today at the age of 83. Yeah, I saw that today when I was at work. Rest in peace, Miss Tina. A life well lived after she got away from Ike, for sure. That's a woman who, that horribly abusive relationship. And, when they got divorced, she took a lot of the debt and didn't take all of the royalty. She just wanted to get the hell away from Ike because she believed that she could make something of herself without him. And she proved it. And so, to a life well lived, rest easy, Tina. And we know you're not, we know there's for no way you're being bothered by Ike up in heaven, because there's no chance that bastard got there. All right, back to where I was going here. So WAR. So last night, Quimby's favorite baseball player ever, Mike Trout, tied Ken Griffey Jr. with an 83.8 WAR for his career to this point. And tons of posts coming out, right? I'm in a couple of different groups as far as, baseball stats and shit like that. Not, I'm sure none of that surprises you guys. But you have guys my age, older, who think it's a bit ridiculous at this point to say that Mike Trout was better than Ken Griffey Jr. Okay. The WAR stat has them tied. And, Mike Trout plays tonight and he's going to pass him, more than likely, even if it's by 0.1. There's some problems with this logic, though, or lack thereof, for you millennials. So let's get started here. You nerds that worship this WAR stat, I'm going to open with, all of you can kiss my whole white ass. It is not. There is no good way to compare across eras. There's just not. You can you can create any kind of stat you want. It doesn't do it. Okay. The best way to judge is, I guess, how dominant that player was against his peers and the competition during that era. And you can say WAR does that. It really doesn't, because it's wins above your replacement, not wins versus the second best center fielder in baseball. Okay. That's not what that does. So it's bullshit. So when guys my age and older bring up the fact that there's no way you can, at this point, you can't say Mike Trout is better than Ken Griffey Jr. or should even be in the same conversation with Ken Griffey Jr. The first thing these millennial shitheads come back with is the fact that Jr. was injured a lot in the second half of his career. And that's totally fair. Okay. I don't dispute that at all. Anyone who tries to dispute that's just a freaking moron, because he was. He got hurt a lot. In particular, when he got to Cincinnati. The injuries, his defense, you guys remember how great he was. Even if you're not a big baseball fan, you remember how great Ken Griffey Jr. was. Not even just from the home runs, but the outstanding center field defense, the wow plays that he would make out there. But he gets to Cincy. He's injury plagued, and the injuries robbed him of that electric defensive play. So when you look at a stat like WAR, it diminishes. He obviously was also during the injuries. He's not out there to get the home runs, to get the RBIs, the doubles, what a slugging percentage, all of that stuff. He was hurt. He just wasn't out there. His last really productive season came in 2007 at the age of 37 years old. And I want you guys to remember that, okay? Because when I get to Trout, that's going to become important. At the age of 37, injury plagued up to that point. He bats .277, 30 homers, 93 RBIs to go along with an on-base percentage of .372, slugging .496 for an OPS of .869. Pretty damn good, right? I don't know what his WAR was for that year, but I would say that's a pretty damn good season, especially for a guy at 37 years old. No juice. People can speculate all they want. Griffey was never mentioned in any of that shit and broke down as he normally, as a player that played the way he did normally should, still puts up those numbers at 37 years old. So his games played starting in 2002. You want to talk about injuries. 02, he plays 70 games. 03, it's 53. 04, it's 83. 05, it's 128. 06, it's 109. And then in 07, he does manage to play 144 games. Still not anywhere near a full season, but 144 games. And that's the slash line he puts up at 37 years old. Pretty damn good. Now let's flip it over and let's take a look at Mike Trout. Okay? I think we can all agree that for quite some time, he has been the best all-around player in baseball. There's other guys who can stake their claim. Mookie Betts is on that list. Bryce Harper is on that list. More recently, Aaron Judge is on that list. But by and large, Shohei Ohtani is on that list. But by and large, for the course of his career, Mike Trout has widely been considered the best player in baseball, with a lot of talk that he could go down as the greatest player in the history of baseball. Oh, just hold on. So, we can also agree that nobody feels sorry for him not having any postseason success to speak of, as he chose to stay in Anaheim and knew the score there. I don't want to hear any of this crap about how they promised him this and they promised him that. Nonsense. That guy could have gone anywhere he wanted to. Any team in baseball would have found a way to bring. I mean, I get, Oakland, Cincinnati, your Pittsburgh. They probably couldn't afford him. But by and large, most of your teams, especially your contending teams, would have found a way to make room for Mike Trout's salary. He chose to stay in Anaheim. Okay? He knew what was going to happen there. There was not going to be a whole lot of postseason opportunity. They just don't go that way. Look, right now you've got him and Shohei Ohtani on the same team. On the same team. Right? You can make an argument that those two are the two best players in baseball right now. They're on the same team and they can't sniff the postseason. And they're going to lose Shohei because of it, because that kid's going to want to win something at some point. So much so did he know this, that he has, is it a standing box that he has at the link every October, starting in October? Somewhere along those lines, right? Or standing someplace again. He knows he's not going to play in October. So he's already got his postseason plans. You can't feel sorry for him for that. What is also indisputable is the fact that while Griffey missed a lot of time in the second half of his season, Mike Trout has not played anywhere close to a full season of games since 2016, which at this point is half of his entire career. Forget about the second half of your career. This guy hasn't played anywhere close to a full season for half of his entire career. You can look at baseballreference.com if you don't want to believe me. Another good part about these reference sites, when guys lead their league in certain statistical categories, it's in bold and italic. And for the first half of Trout's career, his box score in that site is littered with bold italic numbers. Whether it's homers or RBIs or whatever, on base percentage, certainly slugging. He's a freak. But since 2019, he's got none. He's not led his league in any statistical category since 2019. Goose egg. This is the guy who's supposed to be the best player in the league. You'd think we'd see more of, him leading the league in something. No. You know why? Because he's not on the field. Since 2016, all right? So 2017, he plays 114 games. 2018, 140. 2019, 134. 2020 is the COVID year. You excuse that. 2021, 36 games. 2022, 119. He's not out there. We say it all the time. We said it last year on Right On Cue and on this show. The guys on Green Legion Radio talk about it all the time. What is your most valuable attribute? It's your availability. And this guy is not out there. So here we are to start this year. He's played 46 games. He's batting .275 with 11 homers and 25 RBIs. He's walked 21 times and struck out 56 times. Look, the bottom line is he's hurt far too much. And at just 31 years old, I told you to remember that number about Ken Griffey Jr. At age 37, what was it? 277, 30, and 93. Mike Trout can't stay on the field at 31 years old. So what the hell is he going to look like at 37 when Junior had his last productive season? What is Trout going to look like? All right, off my soapbox. Look, kiddos, for all of you kiddos out there who worship that stat, look, it's a nice little stat to be used as a complementary tool, okay? That's the way I describe it. It is not in any way should it be considered as the be-all and end-all that a lot of you youngins, consider it. It's not the be-all and end-all. They are not. They just, these kids, they want so badly to create stats that pump this modern generation up more than a Babe Ruth, a Ty Cobb, a Ted Williams, a Hank Aaron, a Willie Mays, a Mike Schmidt. They want so badly for these guys nowadays to be considered better. And the fact is, it just doesn't exist. Okay? Are they bigger, faster, stronger nowadays? Of course. Are they hurt more nowadays too? You damn skippy they are. And maybe that's because of the conditioning. Too much muscle. I don't know. I mean, David Wells used to say, hey, you can't pull fat. Right? He talks about it in his book. I've got that over there. That's a fun read. If you ever get the opportunity, it's Perfect. It's called Perfect I'm Not, the boomer on beer, brawls, backaches, and baseball. It's got some really funny parts. He goes through his time with the Reds, talking about Marge Schott and all her racist crap. He talks about steroids, which there's another thing that these kids try to argue about. Everybody, these younger guys, they go, "Oh, Barry Bonds is the best baseball player ever." You know what? He may very well have been the most talented baseball player I've ever seen. But when he went too far with the juice, I'm sorry, dude. Eat a dick. I'm done with you. And so the combat to that with these other guys, these guys that believe in Bonds, and not all of them are young in this situation. How about some older folks too? Well, Mickey Mantle and all those guys, they took they took greenies and stuff, so that helped their performance. Dude, really? I mean, can we stop? Please. I don't want to hear it. It's enough. Comparing across eras is virtually impossible. And it's the same thing with basketball. And in a minute here, I'm going to introduce my son. And at some point, that's going to be part of the conversation. My son very much is more a fan of individual players than he is an actual team. He does root for the Knicks, but he likes Jason Tatum. He likes LeBron James. He enjoys watching other guys. Whereas like most of you and me, you have your team and you friggin' hate everyone else, right? I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes. Anyways, let me hop over to the room here just one more time before we welcome in our esteemed little guest there. Now that he's backed away from the camera a bit. Don't be alarmed by his hair. It's a disaster. Anyways, what do we got over here? Tina Turner, Russ Taylor. Look, all I know is I have a few upcoming Phillies games, and one of them has a post-game concert with none of Shaq D. Russ Taylor, Ken Griffey Jr., the kid that swing was solid. And that's my point. Look, I get that the WAR tells you that these two are equal at this point. They're just not, man. It's not there. Mike English, Mike Trout should come back to Philly. Make sure you text that to Quimby. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. What else do we got here? Lou Mancini. When Trout hit stardom, he realized that bright lights were bad. Think Gizmo from the Gremlins. Not a bad analogy, man. I mean, yeah, the guy should, he could have gone anywhere. He could have played he could be on the Yankees and be in the postseason every year. I don't think he wanted any part of it. I think he's perfectly happy compiling his stats. The bitch of it is really for MLB because you have this huge star that is never on your postseason stage. And the way MLB has their viewing packages, it's really difficult to get them on TV a lot. Mike English says, stop talking to kids. Stop talking to kids. Yeah, I get it. But we're about to welcome a kid in here right now. This young man, 15 years old, is going to turn 16 next, this coming Saturday. So without further ado, as we shift gears from the boner of the week being our war worshipers to the NBA, let me welcome in my soon-to-be 16-year-old son, Grady Gilmore.
Hi.
What's up, kid?
Hi.
Don't be shy. Everybody take a look at his sweatshirt. Hertz Brown 22. We got that for him for Christmas. So, kid, the other boner of the week candidates I had were like LeBitch getting swept.
Mm-hmm.
And then John Morant continuing to be an obnoxious attention whore.
Can I explain Ja's situation?
Yeah, go for it. You're on here to talk NBA. So let's hear. I know there was some stuff came out today, right? And we don't want to speculate too much, but go ahead.
So, as you know, the Ja situation with his gun and him liking to wave it around a lot, once on public property, once on his own private property, but that's besides the point. He's going to get a large suspension, and it'll probably be all season. If not a season and a half, is what I've been hearing. And large fines, or half a season and even bigger fines. So this morning he takes to Instagram and he says thank you Pops, thank you Mom, thank you to his daughter, and then he just says bye with a period, and that got people like wondering if he was going to call it quits because NBA is too much for him, he can't handle it. Police were called to his home by his neighbors because they were worried. Normally he's outside playing with his daughter. He had not been outside in several days. So then they go in to find out that was just him talking about taking a break from social media. So him drawing the attention to himself once again.
Yeah, seems like a regular theme there. We talked about, he was our boner of the week last week, and we talked about not just the suspension. I think everybody in the room was pretty much on the same page. A year seems like at the minimum, right? Along with whatever fines. We all know that he's also cost himself likely hundreds of millions of dollars in endorsements. With a kid who plays the way he plays above the rim like that, very exciting to watch. I mentioned last week how you enjoy watching him, how even I enjoy watching him because of the way he plays. A lot like Derrick Rose did early in his career.
That scares me.
Yeah, well, maybe it was never going to last, but you don't change the way a guy plays. You just accept it for what it is, and you take the electricity when you have it, try to put it in a bottle and get yourself a championship. But here we are again. The other part we talked about with Ja Morant was not just the bad negative attention from the media, from schmucks like me, and from our audience, but also a separate contingent that he has gotten some attention from, and that would be the actual Southside Crips, right? The Rolling 60s and all that, where Ja has been seen after scoring plays, throwing up the gang signs and doing it in those videos. And, to the point where I forget the guy's name. I read it last week, but it actually came out. And if you can't see that was a warning, then you're just a fool, because, and that's attention that I think that kid just doesn't need or want at this point. Right. He can try to act like a hard ass, or is this kid the next Aaron Hernandez? Is he actually tied into some of this shit? And we're going to find out some really bad stuff coming up.
From what we know about Ja, he would never do anything like that. Aaron Hernandez, there were signs. Ja, there is not.
That's fair.
The
murder thing was still a shock.
Yeah, the worst thing he's done is wave a gun around an Instagram live a few times. Not saying that's excusable. He's going to be punished for that. And hopefully he can just move on with that, and we won't have to talk about him in this tone ever again, because he's great. And a few NBA insiders, JJ Redick, Shaq, they all say he's a great kid. He's just not.
He's immature.
Yeah, he's not.
He's wildly immature.
You are 23 and you have the entire world watching you. People like me looking up to you, and
that's my biggest problem with it. But I did talk about, the Barkley commercial years ago. I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model. And there's some truth to that. But especially nowadays with the social media aspect, Barkley, when he did that commercial, he didn't have that backlash, right? You and I have talked about it, where LeBron has had to deal with the social media stuff. Granted, he brings a lot of it on himself, whereas Michael Jordan did not. Ja Morant part of what he needs to understand is, whether he wants to be a role model or not, the impact he has being a big star and everyone being as accessible through videos like that, it's different than it was years ago, and he's got to be more responsible.
You know who's enjoying this whole situation? So Nike signed Ja Morant to a monster shoe deal, and now he has a signature Ja 1, which was taken off the Nike app, and the release date is being further pushed out. Yep. But the man that Nike dropped, Kyrie Irving, he is sitting back there laughing.
And I get it, Kyrie, he's not out breaking laws and stuff, but Kyrie is
he's just an idiot.
Douchebag.
He's stupid.
I mean, he's a flat earther. I can't. Don't get, that's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. Yeah, save that for another time. But we do have a couple questions for you here before we dive into the current state of the NBA.
Yes.
So right off the bat, Keenan Harmon. Now listen, guys, I'm not going to let you jump at the kid like you did last time, but I think this is a valid question. Keenan says, Grady, what was the Sixers' bigger mistake? Passing on Tatum and taking Fultz, or letting Jimmy Buckets go to hang on to Bitch Simmons?
So during that draft, the Celtics held the number 1 overall pick, and they traded back to Philadelphia. I believe that's how it went. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is how it went down. The Celtics were supposed to select Markelle Fultz. He was this wonderful prospect, could dunk, could shoot, wonderful at everything, every facet of the game. The Celtics must have seen something in a workout that they didn't like, so they trade back to 3 and they can still get their guy, Jason Tatum, who has been wonderful.
We'll get to him in a few for sure.
He's wow. Letting Jimmy Butler walk and giving Tobias Harris that massive contract was probably one of the stupidest decisions in the history of your franchise. I'm sorry, but I'm thinking you might have a ring right now if you give Jimmy that money. Tobias Harris is making, what is it, $36 million right now to sit in the corner and brick threes.
So one thing to keep in mind with that, remember we talked a few days ago where I told you when that happened, it was during a year where the salary cap increased so much that teams had to spend more. This was one of those casualties. It wasn't just him, but you're not wrong.
Even at the point, I don't know how they chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Jimmy was now imagine having playoff Jimmy to pick up the slack when Embiid and Harden are doing their thing. Harden might not even be there because
thanks English.
Because Jimmy and Embiid were just wonderful together. They loved each other. They loved playing together. And maybe Ben Simmons could have had some of the load taken off of his shoulders, so he wouldn't be such an insecure bitch about it. You let it go.
He's not a chip off the block for no reason, guys. All right. No, I agree with you. I think it's tough because Tatum is so good.
But at the time, Fultz was
Jimmy buckets, especially playoff Jimmy.
Playoff Jimmy.
I mean, dude, I agree with you. I think they've got a ring if Jimmy's there.
Mm-hmm. You sign Jimmy. Even if Fultz is still there, Fultz he can fix his jump shot. Now he's actually doing pretty good for himself in Orlando. He's fixed his career
in Orlando.
Yeah, of course, he's nothing what
nobody
he was.
gives a shit.
Right? He's nothing what he could have been. But it's nice to see a guy who had that horrible disease that doctors couldn't even explain what happened to him for a few months because he just lost the ability to shoot. It was a muscle thing, and it's
called
gone.
The yips.
Yeah. No, it was
all right. So I think we vote there that the losing Jimmy bucket's probably the bigger offense, right?
Mm-hmm. Tatum would be awesome, but you wouldn't need him if you had Jimmy.
It's more like a 1 and 1A of clusterfuck.
Yeah.
All right. So another question. This one from Russ Taylor. He says, "Dude, are you excited to eat multiple cheesesteaks?"
Oh yeah, very, very.
So when we came up a year and a half ago. We went to the last game of the year, that freezing cold Sunday night against Dallas when the game meant absolute dick. We came into town. I brought Grady and Liam. Grady had been over the last couple of years asking about going to a football game, and I think one of your friends was trying to take you to a Bengals game, and I said no. I wanted his first game to be in Philly, and then after that, go to whatever game you want. But I want your first game to be in Philly. So we brought him up there, and it was brutally cold for pretty much the whole weekend. That day in particular was awful. But we did the Green Legion tailgate. We got some good food in them. It was a good time. Went to the game. Liam did not have a very good experience. I think he got a little messed up from the air travel. Grady, however, ate everything in sight. So we were at Chickies and Pete's a lot, and he smashed some cheesesteaks there. Got his crab fries, was drinking that stuff. And then we went to Jim's, and he got a cheesesteak and a half there he ate. And, so he said we were only in town for, 48 hours, maybe a little bit more than that. So this time coming up, I'm sure we're going to be partaking in a smorgasbord of cheesesteaks. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Let's see what else the room has for us here. Russ Taylor, you know the difference between Morant and Iverson. Iverson's hanger-oners never let the talent hold the. Oh yeah, all right.
Get away from that one.
Lou Mancini says Mikal Bridges was there. Biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Brady. What do you think about that one?
So I'm pretty sure Mikal was. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was drafted by Philly, and then they traded him, or was he drafted by Phoenix? I couldn't
tell you.
Let me find out. But the thing with Mikal, he's a wonderful player, and he was a good role player in Phoenix, but Phoenix decided to give up all their depth for Kevin Durant. Bridges being a casualty of that. In today's NBA, the super teams don't work anymore. You now, instead of having 3 big guys like Durant, Booker, Ayton, and Chris Paul, however you want to divvy that up.
Yeah, get easy with the Ayton stuff, dude.
I mean, Ayton and Chris Paul.
You can't consider.
I'm grouping Ayton and Chris Paul as one.
Right.
So you have those guys, and that starting lineup looks like you're going to win a championship. And then you have, like, bums getting minutes off the bench. You have who I can't even name one of their bench players right now.
So
But
Bridges was selected with the 10th overall pick by the Philadelphia 76ers in the 2018 draft before being traded to the Phoenix Suns on draft night, where he was part of the team that reached the 2021 NBA Finals.
And now Bridges is off in Brooklyn having himself a nice little time. He's not really the flashiest player. He doesn't have any good handles. He's just buckets. He just hits his nice little middies, hits some threes. He's good.
Mike English says, glad you had gyms before the place burned.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they open back up. I don't see them being open before we get there, though.
Something else.
Mike English again. Come on, we were never getting Tatum. Sixers got fleeced by Danny Ainge at the time. To keep Simmons along with Brett was the better plan than keeping Jimmy. Of course, in hindsight.
Yeah, of course, we can always sit here and say, what if you did this? What if you did that? But you should have picked Jason Tatum, and you should have signed Jimmy Butler.
I do agree with getting fleeced by Danny Ainge, but that's not. You shouldn't really feel that bad about that. Danny Ainge can fleece a lot of people. So
he set Brad Stevens up for a perfect. It was great.
Yeah, he did.
Something with Mikal Bridges with the recent retirement of Carmelo Anthony. My favorite player, Dad hates it, but he was the only relevant human being on the Knicks for a long time. Mikal Bridges is the closest comparison that we have to Melo in the league right now. Not the flashiest guy, but he'll hit his middies and he'll hit his threes. So
the long two is the most inefficient shot in basketball. Period. The most inefficient. If you're gonna, the point is, if you're gonna be that far out, just shoot a three.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all right, let's move past that. Okay, so we want to get to the current state. What's going on in the NBA right now? So,
all right,
last night we had or 2 nights ago we had the Nuggets sweep the Lakers. Okay, Nikola Jokic did not win the MVP award this year. That went to Embiid, rightfully so. I thought Embiid should have won it last year. I think you can make a case for Joker every single season, just based on what he's going to do every single year. But in order to win it year over year over year, each year you have to go above and beyond what you did the year before, and that's just not what he did, okay? So it rightfully went to Embiid this year. However, Jokic is averaging a triple-double for the playoffs. He did so again in this series. So, Grady, give us a little bit about Jokic and his dominance in the playoffs, but more so against the Lakers when he was up against Anthony Davis, who's supposed to be one of the best, if not the best, defensive big man in the game.
Nikola Jokic from Serbia is I think he's 6'10", if I'm correct, but he's a very large man, big old fat Serbian white guy. He's great. The way he moves does not look like he should be good at basketball, but he is. And he
looks like a doofus.
He there was a shot that he hit against the Lakers a few nights ago where he was dribbling. He didn't know where he was going. Hits a step back three in Anthony Davis's face. I don't know how. I don't know why.
Yeah, that shot was crazy.
And then his playmaking ability for a man that size. Never seen anything like it. I don't think you ever will again. A guy that is almost 7 feet tall and can distribute better than some point guards.
Yeah, he's got really nice touch. His passes are crisp. He's got great touch on his shot. It's pretty amazing to see from a guy that size.
And he's just also another thing I like about him. He's quiet. He laces his wedding ring onto all of his shoes. Little thing that I found out. He's a nice guy. We don't know much about him, just that he likes horses.
The word is he's not that nice guy. He's kind of a prick.
Yeah, but he's just he has 2 MVP awards, obviously. He keeps them in his locker behind the award that he won for having the best cow in his hometown when he was 15 years old.
That was a cool story. I like that one.
Yeah, he does that. He likes horses. I don't know how the hell you breed a horse big enough for that man to ride, but he did it. He has a daughter. He has a family.
I don't need to hear his family history here.
Yeah. He was when he was picked, his pick was overlapped by a Taco Bell commercial. And now he's the best player in the world.
He's the best offensive weapon in the league, if you ask me. He's not much for defense.
No.
He's not. He's a bit soft, which is where the disappointment comes from Anthony Davis's performance in that series. But real quick, Grady, did you have a chance to ever watch Dirk or Tim Duncan? He has. I'll answer this one for him to keep it short. He has watched numerous highlights of Dirk and Tim Duncan, and Grady, I think you agree. Smooth, quiet, same kind of touch that Jokic has. Jokic just taking it to another level.
They couldn't pass like Jokic.
Not like Jokic. No, Duncan was pretty good, though. Duncan could distribute well. Dirk, not so much.
No.
All right, so Jokic runs the whole show in that series, right? They sweep the Lakers, right? He's up against Davis, right? And Davis had nothing for him on the as a defender, which was disappointing if you're a Lakers fan, right? This is Anthony Davis is supposed to be one of the best defensive big men in the league. Get it that Jokic is probably the best offensive weapon in the league, but you think he'd be able to at least contain some of that. He wasn't able to do it. Now flip that script the other way around. Jokic, not a great defender. Anthony Davis can score. And unfortunately for Lubitsch and the rest of the Laker X there, he wildly, when they needed Davis to be a consistent force, he just didn't deliver. Game 1, he goes for 40. Okay. Game 2, just 18. Game 3, he's back up to 28. And then the closeout game, just 21 points. Now, he did go rebound-wise 10, 14, 18, 14, which is pretty freaking wild. But I would call that a disappointment if I was a Lakers fan.
Yeah. Can I very quickly read off Jokic's rebounding over Davis?
Go ahead, yeah.
Over Davis, he got 21, 17, 6, and 14. The Lakers
so the 6
found
is an
out,
aberration, right? Like that's just odd. But
the Lakers found out how to contain him closer to the end, but they didn't do it fast enough. What they did was they started finally what people didn't do. They put in a man named Jared Vanderbilt and another guy named Rui Hachimura. They're both around 6'10", 7 foot.
Hachimura looked good. Yeah,
they're bigger. They're stronger. Maybe not than Jokic, but with Davis, they caused Jokic to make a few costly turnovers, and they got in his face in the rebounding. That's why they're 6th there. They figured out what to do, but it was much too late.
And then what happened when they finally did put a clamp on him a bit? Who stepped up?
Jamal Murray, who has just been unbelievable.
Let's hear a little bit about Jamal Murray because he's not getting enough credit here.
He is not. Jamal Murray, I don't know much about him as much as I do Jokic because Jokic is just a wonder. It's just wonderful. But his statistically, where is it? Yeah, so first game 1 against the Lakers, 31. Game 2, 37. Game 3, 37. Game 4, bit of a bad night. Didn't have the best shooting. Oh, yes, he did. Shot 56%. But he scored 25 points that game. Quieter.
Yeah,
but when you're out there working with Jokic, it's.
But when they started to be able to put a lid on Jokic a bit, Murray was right there to handle what needed, to pick up the slack. Davis didn't do that for LeBron.
His play style perfectly complements Jokic. Yeah. Jokic is just out there to dish the ball, and Murray's going to catch it. Another guy who doesn't get talked about enough, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP. He's in the corner a lot. I don't think there'll be a
time when I can actually say that name without screwing it up.
He's in the corner a lot for Jokic's little weird behind the back, between the leg, whatever passes over the back of his head. I don't know what that guy does. But he's there for those crazy passes. Jokic is so much fun to watch. I sat down a few nights ago and watched like a half hour of his highlights.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's something else. He really is.
It's saying something when your big man has more assist highlights than he does scoring.
Very true. All right, so to put a lid on that series, I mean, there's not a really whole lot to talk about, right? Lakers got their ass kicked. Nobody more happy than me. But given that, looking at the Nuggets, the way they played, the way Jokic has just been dominant, and the way Jamal Murray can step up like that, are we looking at the team that is going to be the eventual NBA champion?
It all depends on what happens out in the East, but I believe yes. If it's the Heat, I see Nuggets in 5. If the Celtics pull off some witchcraft,
Ooh, you better hope Lou and Ashley ain't listening to you, boy.
I'm sorry. The Heat. So let me give you a crazy stat about the Miami Heat. In the regular season,
I got to step away for just a second. I want you to go ahead and keep talking, though, okay?
All right.
Go ahead.
The Heat were 27th in the regular season in three-point shooting, which is just obviously that's awful. There were only 3 teams worse than them. But in the playoffs, they are number 1. They have hit the most threes. They are shooting the best percentage. And it is all on the back of not Jimmy Butler, who, though, has been incredible. Let me give you Jimmy's playoff stats. Have it right here. Playoff Jimmy is just unreal, that guy. 29, basically 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on 50% from the field, 35 from 3, 80 from the line. I do not like the Miami Heat because they did bad things to my Knicks, but that's besides the point. The role players for them that have stepped up: Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and a man who did not get a lot of playing time in the regular season. Who did not get a big time in the regular season. Duncan Robinson.
Don't pay attention to that, Grady. Just keep going.
All right, Duncan Robinson, white guy, sits in the corner, shoots his shots, hits his shots. The shooting turnaround has just been unreal. Went from basically bottom of the league to the best shooting team. Literally the best shooting team in the playoffs.
Who's this? Denver?
No, the Miami Heat.
All right. So we shifting over to that now?
And we shifted to Miami, yes.
All right, let's get over to the Heat. So the Heat are now up 3-1. Okay, they were rolling into Game 4. I thought the Heat would seal the deal on their home floor. I know you did not. And just so you guys in here in the room know, I do not allow any support for Boston sports franchises to exist in my house. This kid's been trying to root for Boston in my presence, and it's not a good thing. I despise every single sports team that comes out there, whether it's Celtics, obviously the Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, definitely the Patriots too. I mean, Harvard, UMass, MIT, Harvard. I don't care who has a team coming out of that damn city. They can all, go do something with a cactus.
Coming into the series, I have the Celtics taking out the Heat in 6 games. Obviously, that did not happen.
No. So they're up to, so the Heat are up 3-1, right? Didn't seal the deal last night. Only shot 43.6% from the floor, only 25% from downtown. Butler, who did score 29, but it was on 9 of 21 shooting.
The thing, there's what I was talking about. The Heat in the regular season, I said this a few minutes ago, we're 27th in 3-point shooting. This postseason, don't know what they did. They've been number 1.
It's just getting hot at the right time, bud. That's all it comes down to.
It's going to fade away eventually, and I think we might be seeing it.
It's not always the best team that wins. It's the team that's playing best at the right time. Okay? And the Heat are one of those teams. Now, look, they also turned the ball over 15 times last night that led to 27 Celtics points.
Well, Boston came out motivated.
And they did, and they needed to. Otherwise, they were out, right?
Hours before the game, there is a quote from Jaylen Brown that said, "Don't let us take one."
Yeah, I don't really want to hear that kind of shit. I mean, what else is he going to say? You got it. You can't say, "Oh, we're done." That doesn't go that way. Here, Mike English agrees with me. No Boston, good parenting. There you go.
He tries.
Lou Mancini says he wants to grab you a beer. Not yet, Lou. A couple more years, bud. And then Keaton knew what I was going to do. When you're your dad's age, you'll have to pee more often too, Grady. It does run through you quicker. Oh, hey, we've got another one in the room. Fito joins the room here. All right, so Tatum goes bananas, 33 points, leads all scorers. He also grabbed 11 boards and dished out 7 assists.
Don't know how the past, this playoffs, Tatum's rebounding. Don't know what he's doing.
He's another one that's been a bit inconsistent, though.
Not in elimination games. In elimination games, he has played second coming of Christ. Well,
hey, guess what? If you play like that earlier in the series, you don't face elimination games.
Tatum's only had one really bad game this series. The others have been to good.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's been bad. I'm saying he's been inconsistent, right?
This series,
Anthony Davis wasn't bad. He was just inconsistent, right? All right, look, I hate this team. I respect Tatum. I kind of like Jaylen Brown, but I hate the Celtics.
Yes,
right? In my generation, and for most of the folks listening and watching, they're a lot like me. There isn't this, let me root for this player. This player is you rooted for your team, and everyone else can eat shit. And then you had your top to bottom list of who you hated most. The Celtics, any Boston team is always right at the top of that list for me. So I am not going to be able to run with it with the Celtics without throwing up. So I want you to go ahead and tell me why you think this team. So are the Heat in trouble?
Big trouble.
If they don't seal it in Game 5.
If you let the Celtics go into your own home and beat you, that
already happened.
Yeah,
that happened last night. That was in Miami. Now they're going back to Boston.
Sorry, I forgot it's in Boston. If they win, and you go back into Miami, and if the Celtics take that game,
so if this thing goes to 7, I would agree with you. I think advantage Celtics 1,000%. Nobody, which is odd because the Celtics were shit at home all year. They played better on the road. But I'm going to tell you now, nobody wants to play in Boston in a Game 7. Never.
No.
You never want to do that. And, they were what? They're now 26 or 27-9 as a franchise in Game 7s.
Yeah.
You don't want to – not good.
Yeah.
So tell me why the Heat – let's look at it from both sides. You tell me why the Heat are going to win Game 5, and then we'll take a look at why the Celtics are going to win Game 5.
I think the only reason the Heat are here is one man. His name's Jimmy Butler. The role players are good. They're tough, but Jimmy is just unreal when he's in the playoffs. I swear to God, he's Mike's kid.
Honorable mention to the best coach in the league.
Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah. Only 52 years old, by the way.
He got overshadowed by LeBron and them.
Yeah,
but
LeBitch and his
big part of that.
Yep. Juggling all those egos.
I just don't. Sure. Without Jimmy, they gave the Knicks a hard time, but that's because the Knicks didn't have a power forward. He just disappears. The lights were too bright.
Yeah, Jules is not a big time player, dude. He's just not. He's not going to step. Big time players make big time plays in big time games, and Jules ain't that guy. Jimmy Buckets is. Now, why can the Celtics? They're going to have to beat Jimmy 4 straight times, 3 more. I don't see a whole lot there to tell me that that's going to happen. I do believe in momentum and confidence, and last night helps the Celtics. But 3 more times?
This season, the Boston Celtics came out. They went on 5 4+ game win streaks.
Did they do it against the Heat and Jimmy Buckets?
I think in 1 or 2 of those series, they beat the Heat twice.
They got to do it 3 more times.
Yeah, and if you get hot enough. The thing about the Celtics, how different they are from last year. Last year, they were a more strong defensive team with Ime Udoka at coach. Mazzulla really has instilled a live by the 3, die by the 3, and when you start missing, last year if they started missing, you have the defense to pick it up. This year you still do, not nearly as strong as it was. Al Horford, that man is going to be 58 and he's still going to be a good role player. I don't understand. Robert Williams, the Time Lord, Dad hates it, but
I don't. Yeah. I think it's a cool nickname. I am not like, and guys, back me up here if you would. I am not a big fan of kind of your mid players having nicknames that everyone needs to know. Right?
He's a top 5 paint defender.
Great. A top 5 paint defender is not a top 5 player in the fucking league. Okay.
Everyone's got a nickname now. Isaiah Stewart
which is my problem. Like, not everybody needs to have this nickname. And I also don't need to hear every commentator talk about a guy who's red hot that he's hotter than fish grease. That's just gotten way overplayed and annoying.
Yeah, it's bad. If I watch one more Heat Celtics game and I hear the announcers mention that the Heat have undrafted players, I'm gonna start screaming.
Oh, they're not wrong, and it is impressive, but I agree. They tend to overplay a
It's
lot of
too
stuff.
much. I can't
It is. It gets to be too much.
talk about the game. Jesus.
Talk about the game. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, with basketball and hockey and football, these commentators, they don't have to fill as much dead air time, right? Which is probably why a lot of them aren't as good as you. Dude, baseball announcers are some of the best that have ever lived, and it's because of the fact that they have to fill those gaps. Now, there's less of it now with the new rules, but there's still gaps in time where they have to tell stories. That's what made Vince Scully so much. I know you have no idea who the hell he is, but
I've heard the name, maybe.
he would, when you listen to Vince Scully, you weren't listening to so much a guy call a baseball game, so much as it was a guy telling you the story of that baseball game. I guess is the best way I could put it. Right? Just a poet behind the microphone.
My favorite
some of these guys now are just not good.
My favorite guy is Mike Breen, calls the Knicks games at MSG.
He's good. I like Mike Breen.
And he has some of the most iconic calls in the game.
Yep.
Not going to
corner, bang!
But
yeah, he's fun to listen to. All right, so you think so? All right, so you think if the Celtics win Game 5, that the Celtics are winning the series? I'm guessing Celtics in 7. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Heat are not going to repeat that 43% night. I don't think they'll shoot 25% from downtown either. They may not shoot 45%, but if they increase from 25 to 35 and their overall is back to 50, say the turnovers come down to 8 to 10, I think the Heat win that ball game. And you're looking at a Nuggets-Heat final where you think the Nuggets would win that series in 5 games.
Oh, yeah. You don't have an answer for Jokic.
You don't have an answer for Jokic, but
the reason I think the Celtics would match up better is the wing play.
Bigger defenders. Yeah,
and it's the wing play, Tatum and Brown. They don't have anyone to match that.
Got it. So the Heat have nobody to stop Jokic, but I mean, look, Anthony Davis couldn't stop Jokic. So I'll combat that with who in Denver is stopping Jimmy Butler.
No one. They're going to shut everyone else down. Mike Malone over there, I think that's the coach's name.
Okay.
He's a solid, good coach. I don't think they're just going to shut down the role players. Their strength and their weakness is the role players.
I think that's
it's
fair.
A deep bench. It's really is. But if one of them has a bad night, it's kind of like it's contagious. If one of them's playing shitty, they all play shitty.
And I think that's fair. And I think that this is the matchup I wanted. Now, guys, so you know, Grady wanted Lakers Celtics. Okay.
So bad. Grady's
never really – he's become a much bigger basketball fan in, say, the past 3 years-ish. And, you know, as a big basketball fan that he is, all you hear about is all the Lakers Celtics. The history of basketball cannot be written without Lakers Celtics as themselves and also playing each other in the finals. So for him to experience that, I get it. I have very much been rooting for Denver versus Miami. It's mostly because I'm okay with either of those two teams winning a title because of the players on that team. Jokic, 2 MVPs, he needs to get a ring, right? He's got to get a ring to start putting himself in that upper echelon of, you know, this guy's going to go down as an all-time great. Jimmy Buckets, would love to see him get a ring too. And I like Eric Spoelstra.
I don't like that Heat team after what they played so dirty against the Knicks. I just can't root for them.
You know what? The Knicks team needs to get tougher.
And they need to be more. You have guys rolling your ankles over. I don't know how you do that. Sorry.
You got to stop, man. We can't look. It's like I tell you about refs, right? If you don't play a perfect game, you can't come back and complain. Okay. Same thing with the Birds in the Super Bowl. That holding penalty at the end was fucking bullshit. But second half defense was bad. Jalen with the fumble, scoop, and score.
You know, we were up 10 at halftime.
I get it, but we could have been up 17 without that scoop and score. You know, my biggest problem with that Super Bowl is the second half defense, and that should be everyone's biggest problem. And that, you know, hopefully that defensive coordinator not being there anymore solves it. But the bottom line is the Chiefs had 4 second-half possessions. Those went touchdown, 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 game-winning field goal.
Let's head back to Boston real fast. I don't want to get you started on that.
No, don't.
We'll be here in a minute.
We're already an hour and 10 minutes, so we're gonna wrap it up here in a few. So we'll skip over to the LeBron stuff, and we won't do the NFL schedule. But go ahead, give me your stuff. Give me your final thoughts on where we're at with the NBA. So we get no game tonight, right?
No, because the Lakers suck at basketball. But yes,
you're not going to see me crying about it.
Back in Boston, Jason Tatum this season averaging 32 points in elimination games. We all remember what he did to your Sixers. Very sorry, dropped 51. I know that was a little in bad taste, but I'm talking. When their back is against the wall, they play better.
Maybe they should play like that earlier in the series, and their back won't be against the wall. Why does it take the threat of being bounced out of the playoffs for Jason Tatum to step up like that?
I don't know. I love the guy. Ask for his shoes from ever.
Well, you know what? I hope it bites him in the freaking ass this time.
Probably will, but I'd love to see the first ever 3-0 comeback.
Because they've dug themselves a no, you can't root for that, because the only other time it's ever happened in any sport was the fucking Red Sox against the Yankees. And now you got the damn Celtics. That can't happen. Guys, guys, if that happens and he cheers for it, I hope one of you has a spare bedroom for him.
But yeah, I love this series. Has been great. It's not really the playoffs have been great. Watching this Boston team has been great. The way they kind of Embiid just didn't show up. The way they neutralized Trae Young. They've been strong, except for going down 3-0. But
what else you got?
Let me see here.
Oh, here she is. Ashley's in the room. 305 Sports Page. 305 Sports Travel. Grady, no, don't wish for that. Mike English, no, Boston goes down. That's it. See, you got no support here, dude. Everyone hates Boston. They might hate the Yankees too, but I promise you, everyone hates Boston. Everyone. Except for people in Boston.
Let me just say something real quick before I go. I have seen Heat fans making fun of Marcus Smart's green hair. And that part, he did it for his mom because she passed away a year or two ago. That makes me angry. Don't go. You don't know the story. Don't talk about it. It's kind of stupid, but that's you don't.
He did 5.
No.
Yeah.
You don't know the story. Don't talk about it.
All right, Graydon. Don't be so upset about it.
I'm not. Just
all right. All right. So, final thought, Grady, and then you're going to get going, and I'm going to wrap this up here because I'm hungry.
Celtics in 7.
Followed by
and what?
Followed by
Celtics in 7.
Ooh, so you're saying if the Heat get through, the Nuggets win in 5, but if the Celtics beat the Heat, you got the Celtics taking the whole thing in 7 games? I don't even know how you're my kid.
The thing is, last year when the Celtics were in the finals,
I don't give a shit about last year.
Let me just tell you, people were on Tatum for how he played like shit. He got decked by, I think it was Bam Adebayo, and he screwed up his shoulder, so he couldn't really shoot the basketball. Jaylen Brown has a cut on his hand from when he cut open his hand with a vase. Bam Adebayo stepped on that hand. The counter's up to 8 times now. He stepped on his hand.
Good.
I hate Bam. I hate Max Strus.
The Celtics fans make fun of Kyle Lowry's butt.
We all make fun of Kyle Lowry's butt. That's a thing. That's everyone. Knicks fans do it.
Yeah, here we go. DNA check in the Gilmore compound is coming. All this Celtic support, I can't stand it. It makes me sick. All right, kid. Thanks for coming on. You did a great job. That was fun. And maybe we'll make this more of a regular thing, all right?
I would love that.
Guys, girls, say goodnight to Grady. He's going to go out there and probably have dinner, and I'm going to join him here as soon as I say goodnight to all of you. Grady, great job, bud. We'll see you in a few minutes.
You. Celtics in 7.
What an ass. Yeah, he's not a chip off the old block for no reason, guys. I think half the reason why he's rooting for the Celtics because he knows it annoys the piss out of me. But nothing I can do about that now. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that was entertaining for you. We're going to try to bring him on a little bit more often. We were going to try to save time to go get his thoughts on the Eagles schedule like I did last week, but we'll save that for another time. So, Ashley, Keenan, Lou, English, Russ, Fito, and anyone else out there listening in Green Legion Radio land. This has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you, as always, for joining us. Hope you've been entertained for the last hour and 15 minutes. And we will see you next week when the countdown to the Gilmore invasion of Philly gets down to 6 weeks to go. We want to start talking about food, places to hook up. All right. Want to get that all sewn up before we hit the road. Until then, please enjoy the holiday weekend. Have a good time. I would tell you don't do anything I wouldn't do, but that's pretty loose. What I can tell you is just remember the judge will not be back in until Tuesday. So be safe. Have a good time. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, go Birds! All right, kids, that's going to do it. Y'all take care. We'll see you next week.